Welcome back to another episode of With the Waves. My name is Gianna Abdallah and I'm your host. Today I will be talking to you about the idea of how your life is a privilege and you should start living it. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, I first started recording this episode yesterday, and it was more so about the idea of rejection is redirection, or like the door is closed for a reason and it'll open up when you're ready. And I think I'm still gonna drop it when I have a week that I'm kind of like busy and it's just an episode to drop, because I still think I said some really good things, but at the same time, like, I was then editing some videos and making some posts for social media, and I stumbled across how like life is literally a privilege and we sometimes get consumed by all the negativity. For example, I was taking like a dive into my photos and videos this past week. Like, I was just reminiscing and just enjoying like making small little videos for my podcast page, and I just sat there and I was like, wow, I really do have an amazing life. Like, I simply am waking up, I have my own room, my own bathroom, like genuinely there's nothing I can complain about. I live with my family. That's amazing. It's like an opportunity to where I can grow myself while also being able to not necessarily spend money on rent, and I'm gonna take that as a win. So next, because at first when I started living with my family, I was like, oh my god, I'm so behind, like this isn't normal, which at the same time it is, because in my culture, like my mama didn't move out until she got married. So growing up, my mom and dad were like, oh, you're gonna be here till you get married, and I'm over here like, oh my god, there's no way, like I just simply can't live here until I'm married. But now it's looking real nice. Now I can live here until I'm married, like free rent, free food, free utilities, I got a pool outside, tanning bed, like treadmill, like what's not to love? And in the beginning, like my thought process about this all was, oh, like I live at home, or oh my gosh, like I got a part-time minimum wage job, which low-key the minimum wage here is great, so I can't complain. But I was just sitting there like, oh my, complaining about all these things, and it then steered me into a direction where I was like just negatively thinking about my life. And then the other day when I was looking through my photos and videos, I was like, oh my god, my life is actually amazing. Like I love living this little life, especially when I'm like traveling and experiencing life in different cultures. And so when that came to be, I was like, maybe I do enjoy living life. And then recently I've been starting to get up earlier and like going to coffee shops and like figuring out what I like, even if it's small. When I figure out those things, it makes me just very much happy. So for example, I love going to coffee shops, I love thrifting, I love going on walks now, and I'll get into that. So the reason I wanted to bring up walking was because we never realize how privileged we are until we get them or things taken away. So for example, I was going on a walk the other day and I pulled like literally some weird muscle. It was the weirdest thing. So my legs started hurting, and every time I went on a walk it was less and less enjoyable, and I was like, damn, I'm now thinking about the time when my tendon or whatever it is fine now, but genuinely didn't hurt. And you kind of like reflect and you're like, why am I taking like this beautiful home for granted? Why am I taking the outside heat for granted? Why am I taking all these things for granted, like my surroundings, when this is simply, I like to think about it that sometimes your life is other people's dream lives. And so you have to sit there and you're like, damn, I truly am living that life. And I have to start taking, like, for example, walking is a privilege. I had to detach my brain from the idea that walking was more of a chore than it is a privilege. So for example, like I would get up in the morning, the first thing I wanted to do was get out of the house and walk, because it'll just like make my day better and I'll just feel better, because like after you walk it stimulates your endorphins, releases it, blah blah blah, all the science. And so then when I would go back, or when I would go on a walk, I would expect like a reaction of something from my body. Like I would expect to lose more weight, and I was like, I only want to go on a walk and lose weight like if I wasn't seeing results. And so I like stopped going on a walk and I stopped moving my body. And then I literally like had to reflect this past month, like especially going into the new year. I was like, this is not how I should be living my life. I should be lucky I get to go on a walk. I should be lucky I get to listen to the music in my headphones to get me on that walk. I should be lucky to be able to have a safe neighborhood to like walk around in. It's just it's the perspective in which you think. And so and also I have no excuse. I literally have a treadmill in my room. So when I like, there's days where you can choose not to walk, obviously, like, you have your off days. But when I tell myself, like, to go on a walk and I don't, because it's either too cold outside or like anything of the sort, too hot, I'm like, now be self for real, because I have a treadmill and a TV right in my room. I just have to angle the TV and I'm on that treadmill. So when I don't go on it, I be thinking, I'm like, be so for real. I want to get into the idea of how we shift our perspective. So, for example, when I'm talking about, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. How about I get to do this, I get to do that. I get to experience a new coffee shop. I get to go to work. I get to go on that walk. I get to hang out with my family. I get to live in a house that's rent free. I get to save up my money. So in the near future, when I do make a decision or get a job in a different state, I have the money to support myself. The way in which you say things to yourself is the way that your life will be perceived. I'll say it again for you slower. The way in which you think to yourself is the way your life will be perceived. Or, in another word, the way life doesn't come at you, it comes from you. That's another thing I like to preach is you think that when everything is going south and like you have these negative thoughts and you think that the world is coming at you and you're like, oh my God, it keeps on getting worse. It's because you're putting out that negativity. But let's say you believe in the idea that everything is good on you and everything will happen the way it's supposed to happen, and it's supposed to have its divine timing because everything happens for a reason. It will happen for a reason. If you think you're that lucky girl, you will be that lucky girl. If you think that you deserve everything and more, you will be deserving of everything and more. It's when you start thinking to yourself internally that you are not worthy, you are not like able to pursue the life that you want to pursue. It all starts with you. Let's talk about the law of attraction. Because when you start talking negativity, like, oh my God, like I hate, or I negative attribute, like when you start talking that way, girl, you're going to get moss. Like all in your face. You're going to get them. But if you start talking to yourself in such a way that like, would you talk to your bestie like that? I don't think so. Would you talk to your mother like that? I don't think so. So let's start thinking about how we're speaking to ourselves. And how about you start talking to yourself in the mirror? Let's do it. Girl, if you really need to write those affirmations, do it. If you need to do those things to make yourself better, do it. At the end of the day, it's you. So if you're negative to yourself, your life will be negative. If you're negative to yourself, everyone around you will be negative. You will attract those negative people. You will attract those negative things. Do not start your day off with negativity. For example, there was like when I first moved home, I would get up and I would not get up at the time I wanted to get up, and I would literally be like, yeah, like of course this would happen to me, of course. And so now my day's ruined. I have to go to work and I have to be at work in 3 hours. Why did I think 3 hours was not a lot of time? Now, if that happens to me, because a girl likes to sleep in, because who knows when she's going to get her corporate job. Like, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to get up when I get up. But I get up and I'm like, oh shoot, like it's 9:30. Okay, I'll get up. I'll put on my fit. I'll either stretch and I'll go on a walk for even if it's like 15 to 30 minutes. Like at least I'm going on a walk. At least I'm moving my body. At least I'm getting like some sunshine. And so when I get that sunshine, I come back. I'm in a better mood already. I get ready right away. So whatever happens, like I can go before I have to go to work. And I've been doing that lately, and like I've been seeing a better reaction from my day. Like I've been just enjoying it more. Like because I work nights, and so not even like I work like late afternoon into the evening, sometimes into night. But when I do that, I then have enough time in the morning. So then I try to get up early. So then I have enough time in the morning to then do something. So then after that, I go to work. And I can come back and like just relax and let loose and enjoy my night with my family and be surrounded by them in the living room. Like, that's what I think personally when it comes to like enjoying or changing your perspective. Because, and let me say it again, life comes from you, not at you. I read a quote the other day that kind of also made me think of this idea for a podcast was to live a life is a privilege, but to live a life to the fullest is a choice. So for example, like you getting to live this life, you were put into it, obviously. And that's a privilege. Like, well, not a privilege. Hold on. Let me read the quote. Okay. So life itself is a privilege, but to live life to the fullest, well, that's a choice. And then another one I have is life is a gift to be celebrated, even though it's hard. So for example, you got put into this life, and so obviously you're going to have a choice whether to live it to the fullest or to then be kind of small and think that the only thing in life is what's around you in like a 100-mile radius. And there's so much more in the world. Like so I'm working at this part-time job, and this girl, she moved from Michigan to come to Arizona. She's like, yeah, I'm struggling, but it's better than in Michigan. She's like, I enjoy Arizona way better. Like, I was not having fun when I was living there, and so she came over here and she's like starting a new life, and she's like, it really is easy, like just move. And I think I need to just simply like tailor down to what I want to do in life, so then when I do it, I'm like, I'm super grateful for living here with my family. And I think there's been many people, just because I feel like I'm kind of just like walking right now. And so when I'm trying to like navigate myself, I'm obviously asking for outwards advice. And when I'm given advice, I know that's like, it's been in my head. I've been thinking about it. It's just like I know the next step I take is going to be difficult. I know the next step I take is not going to be easy. Like, life is not supposed to be easy. That's another thing. So when I know that life isn't supposed to be easy, I have to take a step back and remember I chose to do that specific next step. And so I need to take it with grace and go step by step and remember it will all be okay and it'll all end up working in my favor. The question is, what's the next step? That's the question. And it's a privilege to be able to have a choice. It is a privilege to be able to make a decision. And that's something I wanted to bring up, is I'm not a very decisive person. And the reason for that is I never want to make the wrong decision. And that's okay. I always told myself, I'm like, I don't care. Like, whenever someone asks me something, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not that, like, I really just, I don't care. Recently, I've been not living through that, or not living by that. I would always be like, oh, no. Like, let's do this. Oh, I want to do that because it's my life. I want to start making the decisions. I want to start doing things that I'm interested in. Even though, like, I think the reason I said I don't know was because I was just like, I don't know. So like, let's do what other people want to do and see if I'm interested in that. And I've been wanting to say yes more, obviously. So I've been really trying to embrace the opportunities given to me and just like go with the waves. LOL. But genuinely, like, I'm just like trying to take every step with gratitude and with perspective, because I have just been listening and reading a lot of books that come from older women or just older people in general, and how they like wish they took their 20s with gratitude and perspective instead of just like living at its demise, because it's like a new thing and like you're just thrown into the group of like, what the hell am I supposed to do with my life? And if you know what you want to do with your life, that's amazing. But at the same time, it's like, for those who don't, that's also a privilege. You don't need to know what you're doing with the rest of your life. No one ever does. Please. You got 50-year-olds who don't know what they're doing, and that's okay. The idea of life is to live it. It's not to figure out what your purpose is. There's no purpose. There's no purpose to life. So when you finally understand that you get to live the life, or how do I word this? When you finally understand that life is worth living, and it's about the simple things, and it's about finding what you like, that's when you start living life. That's when you find your purpose, is it's to just simply figure out what you enjoy and have grace with what could be your next opportunity. Every decision you make leads to a greater good, and every path you go down, like, it just happens for a reason. Like, looking back at how my life has turned out to this point, I'm like, wow, everything happened for a reason, negative and positive. I'm grateful that it happened the way it did, so then it taught me these lessons. And so when you think about it that way, you're like, okay, yes, this was not a good part of my life. That wasn't a great age. That wasn't a good moment. But then you look back now and you're like, well, I'm glad it happened. So then now I know not to do it again, or I know that I'm able to do something greater. And so I'm very much appreciative for all the things that happened to me negatively and positively, obviously. Who wouldn't? But all of this is a privilege. Like, all of it is just, it really is coming down to just how you view this life, how you view your life. And once you figure that out, it's like you're unstoppable, because it all starts with your brain. Once you figure out how to rewrite your brain, how to rewrite the way you speak to yourself, how you rewrite the way you speak about the life you live. When I was younger, I obviously was like, ew, I don't look good today, or ew, my like under eye bags. But now I walk with grace. I walk with attention. Like, I'd simply just always be, I wake up and I'm like, oh, look at me glowing, let's go. Like, I sometimes don't even want to look at myself in the mirror. Like, obviously I get ready and like I don't, but like when I feel not my best, that's different. Like, I feel like it's more internal than it is like external. It's like when I don't look good, I'm like, okay, well, I'm also tired, I'm feeling like kind of low in my vitamins. So then I'm like, let's drink some more water, have more greens, let's have some ginger. Like, I'm trying to think of all these things to add within myself internally that make me glow externally. And that's when I feel the best, is when I'm feeling myself and when I'm genuinely like putting things in my body that make me feel good. So then I glow. It's all mental. And this is common sense, obviously, but like a lot of people need to be reminded of this, is like what you fuel yourself with is what will make you feel good and what will make you look good. Like, you see all these girls on TikTok posting or eating all these veggies and they're like, my new glow recipe. Like, no, babes, it's like literally the other day, me and my mom went to a farmer's market, and this guy's like, it's a natural energizing bar, and I'm like skeptical. I'm like, there's no way this shit is like working. I'm just like, there's no way. And he goes, yeah, I'm like, I literally turned to my mom. I was like, Mom, it's literally just, there's just Whole Foods in here. And she's like, I know, but like, let's just buy it. It might be healthier. And I'm like, obviously. And so we get this, mind you, they're like pretty decently priced, but like we get it, and it's like, it's literally just Whole Foods. I'm like, obviously it's going to be good for you because it's Whole Foods. And it was just like a Nature Valley bar. I don't know. That was just funny to me, because I told my mom, I was like, the branding was just interesting. But of course it's like a farmer's market, so we supported, but it was just so funny. I was like, there's no way this man is like, everyone's like geeked at the fact that it's like an energizing bar. Like, it's just like you're feeding yourself with Whole Foods. It was just interesting. Anyways, but I kind of just was very much passionate by this topic, because I've been realizing it more and more as I'm going through my 20s and as I'm going through this year. Like, you get to choose to live the life you want to live a certain way, and if you choose to live it negatively, it'll be negative. But if you choose to live it with purpose and with passion, girl, the life you gonna live, or man, whoever is listening, will live the life that they want to live. Let's start there. No, but that ass, like, it genuinely is just, it's perspective. It's really a perspective. And when you put a perspective on the life that you want to live, it's going to happen. So that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today. Just wanted to put perspective into your guys' minds. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, rate, so that other people can see this podcast. And don't forget to have a great day and go with the waves.